At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Washington Nationals. Mets baseball is presented in HD by IOTV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. I'm Gary Cohen. Keith Hernandez and Ron Darling join me in just a moment as the Mets open a 4-game series against the Washington Nationals. The Mets are 1-4 on this homestand, and they just lost 2 out of 3 to the Chicago Cubs. But that was not the fault of Jason Bay, who just continues to be raging hot, and today was named the National League Player of the Week.
Well, Jason Bay, it's been a tough run for him here in the Met uniform, and it's good to finally see him have a good week. He's actually had a good 13 games, 2 weeks of baseball over that span, hitting .391 with 6 doubles, 3 home runs, and 13 RBI. He's been slowly coming around, Gare, and it's been a real hard slog for him. So, it's good to see him have a good week, actually a good 2 weeks, and hitting the ball with power. He has lost his power, but he's a National League Player of the Week.
Well, it's also been a hot time for R.A. Dickey, whose season got off to a slow start. He's pitched well for most of the year, but he's finally getting some wins to show for it.
You know what's great about R.A. Dickey? He's been doing it on the field since he's become a Mets. His ERA is just a shade over 3. He has 9 consecutive quality starts. That's the most since Santana had 14. But even more important, Terry Collins calls him really the backbone of the team, probably the mentally most toughest guy on his team, a guy that hurt his foot and came back and has pitched even better since then. And R.A. Dickey is just one of those guys that Collins loves. He's a great teammate and a guy that does anything or gives his team the best chance to win.
On the other side for Washington, lefty Ross Detweiler will make the start. The Mets beat up on Detweiler when they faced him in D.C. last week, knocked him out after 3 innings. So the Mets try to get off to a fast start in this 4-game series against the Nationals. Mets and Nats, all the action coming up tonight on SNY. TV. By Lexus. By New York Lottery. Play New York Lottery's Mega Millions and live large. Hey, you never know. By Parts Authority, the only name in auto parts you'll ever need to know. Visit them at partsauthority.com and become a VIP member today. And by AT NYN. Rethink possible. Follow the Mets with the MLB.com at Bat 11 app for your iPhone, iPad, Android, or BlackBerry. Check in using at Bat at Citi Field to receive special offers. Text at Bat to 31826 or visit Mets.com for details. Here's your Mets upcoming schedule. Remember, all Mets games on SNY are available in HD, presented by IOTV, and you can listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. 4-game series with the Nationals, concluding with a day game Thursday. Then the Mets make their final road trip to Atlanta and St. Louis and come home to play the Phillies and Reds to wrap up the 2011 season. 16 games to go. That means 3 starts for R.A. Dickey. He's got a 3-game winning streak. All sorts of fans on hand tonight as the Mets and Nats get set to open their series. First pitch coming up. Desmond have struggled against R.A. Dickey, so Steve Lombardozzi, the rookie, and Brian Bixler get the starts at second and short. Wilson Ramos, no Met pitcher can get him out, including Dickey. .571 against Mets pitching this year, as the Nationals come in off a victory over Houston yesterday, with Steven Strasburg making the start for the Nats. R.A. Dickey goes to the mound for his 30th start of the year. R.A. has been on a roll, 3 straight victories, including a 1-0 shutout of the Marlins his last time out.
Yeah, and his ERA in those last 3 starts is 1.35. Started the season kind of slow, and then after that has really taken off and gotten the big outs.
And the Lexus Metropolitan defense, David Wright, he's made 5 errors in the last 6 games. And Reyes made a couple errors the other day. And Jason Bay out in left field, and our National League Player of the Week, as we said at the top of the show. We know that he goes out there and plays solid left field defensively. So congratulations to Jason.
So is that 2 straight weeks now the Mets have had the National League Player of the Week? Didn't David Wright win it?
David Wright last week, Jason Bay this week. And it is Ross Detweiler coming in with his pitching coach. Well, he's lost him now.
I don't know if that's a sign or not.
If your pitching coach doesn't want to be seen with you, it's not a good step.
Here's Steve McCatty catching up Just while it was just moving a little quick for Steve.
One of the great guys.
Caddy was part of that Oakland pitching staff that Billy Martin ran into the ground.
That's right. You know what's going to be great about McCaddy is that look at all the arms that he's getting. Jordan Zimmerman had a solid year before they shut him down. Of course, Strasburg and the others.
Well, I spoke with Davey Johnson when we were in Washington, Ronnie, the last road trip, and Davey said that they've got some young arms down there that he really likes that they're going to get a good look in next spring.
While we have a moment, I know most of our viewers probably didn't see it. Some probably did yesterday, but Ronnie took on a new role yesterday as play-by-play man. You know, Ronnie has been an award-winning color guy now for a number of years, but you were doing a game for TBS yesterday, pressed into service for emergency duty, and you and John Smoltz did an outstanding job.
Well, thanks a lot. I don't know. Sitting to your right, Gary, it's hard to even compare what I did yesterday with what you do, but it was really fun to do it, and John Smoltz was fantastic. Made it a lot easier.
And you got a good game, too.
Yeah, fantastic game. 3-2.
Nervous?
Nervous, yeah.
Well, you guys kind of did that last year, didn't you? Brian Bixler leads off against Dickey and takes a knuckler for a strike.
Don't tell anyone. We kind of took the day off on that one. Right, Keith?
Yes.
Well, you kicked me out of here for a day, so I know you have the booth to yourselves.
Well, they had to let the inmates run around.
Bixler hitting at .218, getting the start at shortstop tonight. Bixler, who came up with the Pirates as a highly touted player. He was a number 2 draft pick by the Pirates, but never hit enough to stick in the major leagues. Now he's become a utility guy. He's played 6 different positions for the Nationals this year. And a slow ground ball, and Reyes is there to handle it for the first out of the night. So Bixler retired, 1 out and nobody on, and now Steve Lombardozzi, son of Steve Lombardozzi, who was the second baseman for the World Series champion Minnesota Twins back in 1987.
Well, his dad was a great competitor, great infielder with sure hands, and his son is cut from the same cloth, although he is a switch hitter. His dad was just pure right-handed.
Looking for his first big league hit. He's gone 0 for 12 so far, and he takes a strike. Now, his dad's career was relatively short. He only played 4 or 5 years, and I think 87 was really the only year he was a regular with the Twins.
Good timing.
He was a Massachusetts guy.
That's right.
Ryan Zimmerman waiting on deck. Lombardozzi had .309 combined in Double-A and Triple-A this year with 8 home runs. And the slow knuckleball hit out to left center, angling in his bay to call. 2 out. 64 miles an hour on that floater. I think as the season's gone along, Ari's become a little more adept at throwing that slow knuckleball.
Yeah, adept at that, and he's also done a couple of things with his fastball, Gary. He's sinking it and also cutting it every once in a while. So evolving as a pitcher still, R.A.
Now taking on Ryan Zimmerman, who's hitting at .291 on the year. Zimmerman's had trouble with Dickey, just 2 for 16 against him. And that one squirts by Mike Nickias. Nickias catching Dickey for the 3rd time. Everybody on this team, from Terry Collins on down, has been raving about the defensive work of Mike Nickias. There's a fastball for a strike, 1-1.
Look at Zimmerman. He is so angry that he took that 1-0 fastball down the middle.
Look for it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to throw a knuckleball by you if you're looking for a fastball.
So you say look for the fastball adjust to the knuckleball?
Yes. Because he can't throw the knuckleball. He's going to as hard as the fastball. So just kind of have it in the back of your mind. So if he does try to sneak attack you, you're ready for it.
1-2 to Zimmerman, and it's lined the other way. A base hit for Zimmerman. So the Nationals have the first base runner of the night, a 2-out single. And that'll bring Michael Morris to the plate. Morris having a tremendous year, especially when you consider that his first 7 weeks were awful. But since taking over as a regular in late May, he's really taken off. He's 6th in the National League in batting with that .310 average with the 27 home runs. 3rd in the league in slugging percentage. Just been a breakout season for Michael Morris.
Well, he's got that hands held way out over the plate, but he brings them back as he prepares his take back. It just seems to me, Ronnie, he's got a little bit of a slider speed bat. He's having a heck of a year.
Zimmerman at first and 2 down, and that knuckler bounces and squirts away from Nickius, and down to second goes Zimmerman. It'll be a wild pitch charge to Dickey, his 7th of the year.
Knuckleball that he just bottomed out, and Nickius could not get his body square in front of that baseball. Played it off his left arm.
I mean, does a catcher treat a knuckleball in the dirt the same way he treats a curveball in the dirt?
No, they're supposed to really pick it, Gary. And that Nickius was in between there. And what I mean by that, if you were with a knuckleball, you'd be tempted to go to your knees and block it almost every time. That's how much it moves. So you really have to just pick it, turn a little sideways, and what'd you say? Wilson pick it.
Wilson. Mustang Sally.
And that one in the dirt for strike 3. Nickius has enough time to get to it, and that completes the putout to end the inning. So Dickey has the strikeout, a hit and 1 left. Mets come to bat at the bottom of the first with Reyes to lead off. Tonight, Jose Reyes with a 1-point lead in the National League batting race entering today. Jason Bay, your reigning National League Player of the Week. Justin Turner, who had another huge hit in the game last night. He's feeling a little better after a couple of days on the sidelines, feeling ill. And Ross Detweiler starting for the Nats tonight.
Well, he was the #1 pick of the Nats in 2007. 6th overall in the country. Missouri State University. Other grads: Bill Miller, Ryan Howard, Brad Ziegler.
Jose Reyes sitting at 332, bluffs and takes outside. Reyes 1 point ahead of Ryan Braun after Jose went 1 for 5 in the long game last night. Mets didn't get done with the Cubs till 12:53 this morning after 11 innings. Bounce down to third, and Zimmerman plays the hop. 1 away.
And we'll take a look quickly at the National Coors Light D, and Bixler getting the first start. Usually the starting keystones for this ball club are Espinoza and Desmond. They're both on the bench. Obviously, they have had big trouble with the knuckleball, so they're getting a rest. So we've got a complete new middle infield for the Nats.
Here's Turner riding an 11-game hitting streak. And that weird-looking infield hit off the pitcher's glove in the bottom of the 8th last night. But it still went as another hit with a runner in scoring position. He's up to 372 this year with runners in scoring position, which would be second behind Joey Votto in the National League. Turner doesn't have quite enough at-bats to qualify. Gets this one out to right field, and Hank Keel got a good break on it. 2 out. So 2 up and 2 quickly set aside by Detweiler. And now Lucas Duda. Lucas is now hitting over 300 against left-handers this season. Still looking for his first home run against a lefty, though.
It's always impressive when you have a young hitter, left-hander like Duda, and he just pencils them in the 3rd spot every single day.
It really makes you wonder next year when the Mets come to spring training, what will the middle of their lineup look like? You know, if you have David Wright here, if you have Jason Bay swinging the bat the way he is now, if you have Ike Davis back, if you have Duda, a developing player, you have those 4 guys in the middle of your lineup.
I got to believe that if Ike comes back the way his old form, he's going to be the cleanup hitter.
Hit down to first. Nice stop by Marrero. And the pitcher gets over to cover to end the inning. Chris Marrero with a good play. And the Mets are down 1-2-3, a 5-pitch inning. No score after 1. Will lead things off for the Nationals against R.A. Dickey. Fourth inning at 229 in his first year in Washington. 19 home runs, 55 driven in.
Guys, I had to do a thing. Sorry, Gary. I had to do a thing yesterday on the most disappointing player in baseball. Jason made my list, but he was not number 1. I went to Dunn.
Adam Dunn has got to be number 1.
Adam Dunn, yeah.
Was John Lackey on your list?
Yes, Lackey was there too. The Dunn this season is 3 for 83 versus left-handers with 3 singles,
which is a big improvement because he was 0 for about his first 50.
That's 3 for
83.
Oh, jump off the ship.
Oh, he's only hitting what, 160?
162 going into yesterday.
Worth lifts one out to right. Dudu's had his problems out there. Tracks this one away. I don't know if you guys saw the game yesterday, but Duda had another ball hit over his head, another ball drop in front of him. Do you think it's been harder than you imagined for Duda to make this transition, or is this about what you expected?
You know, I remember seeing him last year in left field, and he didn't really have much problem at all. So right field has been a little more challenging than left field was last year.
I'm just wondering, you know, since it's such a big ballpark in right field here.
Turner throws out Ankiel to out.
You know, Bay has a strong enough arm. Would you, Ronnie, entertain the idea of moving Bay to right and Duda to left, a little less territory to patrol, even though it's still big out there, but you don't have to deal with all that Modell, that concave back there?
You know, Gary and I talked about it on Saturday. I said, yeah, I would absolutely entertain that.
I would really entertain it.
Well, I know that Lucas is planning to go down to Venezuela to play for Tim Tuffle for the Caracas Leones during winter ball, and the goal is to get him as many reps as possible in right field. Chris Marrero takes the strike. There's
Tuff's here.
I spent about a half hour with him the other day, Keith. What a great guy.
81. That's a wide receiver.
That's a harsh number right there. Well, Tuffle did a great job in Buffalo this year. It was a very difficult task. AAA managing is always difficult, but especially this year. The Mets took half his team early in the season, and he really had very little pitching.
He told me, though, what was good about it, other than coming up to the ranks single A and double A, it prepares you a little more for this level. There's newspapers following you. There's a TV and radio crew at times. Press conferences after the game.
Marrero hits it right at Bay in left field, and that retires the side. 8-pitch inning for R.A. Dickey. To the bottom of the second, no score at Citi Field. Those were the good old days,
sir.
25 years ago.
Oh, look at it, got Harry Windlestad hot. He was John with Harry. There he is.
That was the final day at Shea, and Davey having his plaque entered into the Mets Hall of Fame. Let me ask you guys a question. If you had to describe Davey as a manager in one word, what would that be?
It's a very complex man down there to have one word for him.
Well, then give me two. David Wright leads off the second.
I will say that he is the most confident person I've ever been around in my life.
That was 12 words.
Well, confidence. I'm confidence.
Confidence is a good word to describe him.
I would say quirky. That's the closest I can get to it. He would not manage by the book.
You ask me? Sometimes we think you're quirky.
Well, not really. Come on. But Davey would play with his gut. You know, he'd make a move on his gut. He wouldn't worry about getting second guessed.
Well, it's funny because when Davey began managing, there was no 24-hour talk radio. WFAN began during his tenure as Mets manager, and Davey got pretty good at going on the air and giving as well as he got in terms of people questioning his strategy. Bixler makes the running toss and gets Wright one away. I mean, the world has changed so much from, think about it, when Davey took over as Mets manager in 1984, there was no internet and there was no talk radio. By the time he finished, there was 24-hour talk radio and the internet was starting up in 1990 when he got fired.
Well, think about it with Davey when he came over to the Mets. It was an unheard of thing that a manager would use a computer, right? I mean, and they live by him now.
He was the innovator.
Yeah.
One out and nobody on. Here's Angel Pagan hitting a .265. He takes a strike.
And unlike my second manager, main manager, Tony La Russa, I will say that, I don't know about you, Keith, I would say that I never have ever had a serious discussion with Davey Johnson for more than 5 minutes, 2 minutes. You know, I have now, but I'm doing this job. The last time I was in Washington, we sat down for about 40 minutes. But as a player, never had a conversation with him.
By your choice or his?
I think both at times.
Is he one of those managers that didn't like pitchers?
Yeah. I don't.
He shouldn't have.
Well, he shouldn't have with all the pitchers that. Well, you know what, Davey, when he was with the Baltimore Orioles, they had all those great pitchers. He used to tell stories, and the stories about those pitchers were not always in the pitcher's favor. Let's say.
You're talking about when he had Palmer and Cuellar and all those guys.
Yes. Davey, I was talking about confidence. Davey would tell you a story that, well, Palmer's out there, he's pitching one day. I had to run in there and tell him, you know what, you aren't doing the right thing. Come on now.
3-2 to Pagan, and he goes down on strikes. Detweiler with a fastball, his first strikeout.
He told the story to me about Pat Dobson, who had the great changeup. One of the four guys at 120. He said Dobson was so crazy he'd go behind the mound, turn his back to the home plate, rubbing up the ball, and he'd give Davey the wink and a changeup sign. Throw a changeup. So those are fun things to hear.
There's Jason Bay, National League Player of the Week, riding a 10-game hitting streak right now. So what you're saying, Keith, is that you had longer conversations than 5 minutes with Davey when you were a player?
Davey, I don't know, it was different. We didn't need to be coddled. They didn't have to nurture us. No, I guess I really didn't. I mean, he was managing a ball game. I didn't want to bother him in the middle of the game. He came out on the field and hit, but we had our work to do. I mean, we got along great. But he's always, the manager and the coach has always run first class.
He lets you feel I'm the CEO and you're not. And not in a bad way. I'm just, he ran the show. Just be ready to play.
Well, the other piece of that, of course, is that, things have changed so much in the last 20, 25 years in terms of the amount of time that players and managers spend in the ballpark.
That's true.
I mean, it used to be, I don't know, what time did you guys show up for a 7:30 game?
You used to leave the city.
I used to leave the city at no later than 3:30 to get out of traffic. And that was on Fridays during the season when everybody was hightailing out to the Hamptons. You'd have to leave at 3 o'clock. But 5 o'clock hitting, I'd get there at 4 o'clock.
But you're not getting there at 1 o'clock like some of these guys now.
I'm just getting up.
And Bay draws a walk, and the Mets have the first base runner. And, you know, I remember when Davey was manager with the Mets, especially for a day game, you'd go try and find him in his office an hour before the game. He wasn't there yet.
No.
I mean, can you imagine that happening with Terry Collins?
That's right.
No, Terry's here 6 hours before the game.
He is running around the stadium.
So I guess what I'm saying is there wasn't as much opportunity to have a conversation with the manager.
Yeah, you know what? In those days, Gary, you did not want this general manager to come over and tap you on the shoulder, and you didn't really want to have a conversation with your manager. If you did, it meant that you weren't performing.
Evans hits one beyond the reach of Marrero for a base hit. So the Mets have their first hit of the night. Nick Evans poking one the other way.
I mean, I'll tell a story I've never told. I mean, Ronnie's aware of it. Is that sometimes if I had a late Saturday night and I come on a day game on Sunday, I just go into Davey's office and I go, Davey, I just need to go back in the trainer's room and take a nap. Can I just not take BP today? And he'd say, go ahead. So I'd go back to Dr. Park's office.
That's right.
I'd tell the trainer, wake me up at 1 o'clock game, wake me up at 11:30. And I'd take a little hour-and-a-half nap. I'm ready to go.
You're doing the same thing now.
Nothing's changed.
Dr. Parks' office was way in the back behind the trainer's room. It was like double doors. It got very dark in there.
And it had louver shades, too, so it got very dark in there.
We need one of those.
Yeah.
Mike Nickias making his 14th start, hitting at .222. 2 out and 2 on. Nickias takes low and inside. Mike came up as a pinch hitter in the 10th inning in last night's game and successfully sacrificed. Mets had the bases loaded in both the 9th and 10th last night, couldn't score. In fact, they left 15 runners on base. Out to right field, but right at Ankiel came in a step, but then goes back to grab it. And that ends the inning. Mets leave 2. After 2, Mets and Nats, no score. Three credit scores, 1 place. Wilson Ramos, Met killer, leads off in the 3rd inning for Washington. Ramos has been crushing the Mets all year, and his success against R.A. Dickey has a lot to do with that. He's 7 for 10 against Dickey with a home run, and he's hitting .571 against Mets pitching. Trust me, he doesn't do this against everybody. Good knuckleball to start him off. Ramos hitting .259 for the year. a very exciting young catcher for the Nationals. Remember, they got him from the Twins for Matt Capps last year at the trading deadline. And boy, wouldn't the Twins like to have that trade back with what has befallen Joe Mauer since. Does Mauer catch at all anymore?
No, he really just DHs and plays first base. I saw him play a game at first base. He looked pretty good, to tell you the truth. It's just hard for the Twins, that huge contract. And from the beginning of spring training, he's been complaining about some real kind of residual injuries from last season.
And then you've got their other superstar, Justin Morneau, and I don't know what his future is going to be. He's still having concussion syndromes more than a year later. Ramos hits one slowly, right with the bare hand play. Got him. A rare time the Mets are able to retire Ramos. 1 out. Well, last night was obviously a very special night here at Citi Field. The Mets did just an extraordinary job in remembrance of the victims and the heroes of 9/11, and the players did their part with Tuesday's children, youngsters who lost a parent on that horrible day. And so many of the Mets from 2001, including Mike Piazza, were on hand. John Franco throwing out the first pitch. And Chris Carlin is with us tonight, trading places with Kevin Burkhardt. And Chris, I know a lot of the players were really moved by last night.
Really, definitely, Gary. I mean, I talked to Mike Baxter, who you would immediately think would be one guy that was impacted by this, and he and his family lost a cousin in the World Trade Center attacks, Kathleen Moran, who worked in Building 2, and what he remembered earlier today was just being at Archbishop Malloy High School. He was a senior at the time, and really everybody just being in complete shock over what had happened, and kind of waiting around to decide what his family was going to do next. I asked David Wright about it, and he had just gotten done with his first year in rookie ball and had been drafted by the Mets earlier that season and was getting ready for instructional ball. His little tapper right back to the box, and R.A. Dickey puts away. And David was just talking about the fact that when you looked at what was going on and the sadness and everybody, the range of emotions, he felt like he went through the same thing. And lastly, Miguel Batista, I talked to a little bit about last night, and he was in the bullpen as the ceremony was going on, and he said, you can take a lot of things out of your mind. You can take the intimidation factor of pitching out of your mind. You can't take the emotion out of your mind, and he did not find himself in a situation last night where he was able to do that right away. He felt very emotional throughout the whole thing. One thing that they all agreed on, though, guys, was the fact that the goosebump moment of last night's ceremonies was clearly the fans chanting USA at the end of the ceremony.
Thanks, Chris. I know for me, and Robin Ventura said this the other day too, the sound of bagpipes will forever be associated with they first came back from 9/11 here in New York, and they were back again last night, and it caused a welling up yet again. 1-2-3 inning for R.A. Dickey. He's retired 7 in a row. Last night, Mike Piazza and John Franco were center stage. Johnny throwing out the first pitch, and that certainly brought a big roar. We revisited last night's ceremony a moment ago, and it was totally touching. And unfortunately, what has overshadowed the coverage of that ceremony, both last night and today, has been the response to Major League Baseball's tone-deaf decision to not allow the Mets to wear caps during the game, honoring New York City firefighters and police officers and those from the other uniformed agencies and first responders. Here's the thing that the folks at Major League Baseball don't get, and I think this is also true of a lot of people around the country. To be sure, 9/11 represented an attack on the entire nation. But, no other city in the nation experienced that horrific day and its aftermath like we did in New York. 3,000 people died here. Not in Kansas City, not in Seattle. Milwaukee and Houston didn't lose 343 firefighters. Unlike Denver or Atlanta, virtually every person in this city and its suburbs knew someone who perished that day. All right, Dickey retired for the first out. No other city, not Milwaukee, not Seattle, experienced the fear and horror that day with clouds of debris billowing down the streets and people racing for their lives. No other city experienced that. And to this day, you have firefighters and other first responders who are suffering debilitating illnesses from working on that toxic pile at Ground Zero, trying desperately to recover either living souls or remains or something. And so as the Mets last night sought to honor the firefighters and police and other uniformed personnel who perished and the others who have been altered forever, Reyes pops one up. It's incomprehensible that Major League Baseball somehow thought that was inappropriate. And I'll tell you what's worse. The official response from Major League Baseball was issued by Joe Torre. He said it's a unanimity thing. Well, the whole point is that New York's experience is not the same, and the Mets shouldn't have to treat the day the same. They have other issues because they have a different constituency. And I thought it was horrible. Now, I don't know who made the decision for Major League Baseball, but it was horrible that they put Joe Torre front and center, because Joe was born and raised in this town, and Joe enjoyed the greatest professional success of his career in this town, and he knows better, even if other people at Major League Baseball don't. It was a really shameful thing that they did. Turner retired, the inning over. Mets are out 1-2-3. We go to the fourth with no score. 4 Mets tickets, 4 vouchers for Nathan's Hot Dogs or Brooklyn Burgers, Nathan's French Fries, and Pepsi Soft Drinks. Get to Mets.com for your tickets now. 4th inning with no score. Steve Lombardozzi leads off against R.A. Dickey. R.A.'s allowed just 1 base runner over the first 3 innings. A Ryan Zimmerman single in the first. And Lombardozzi, still looking for his first big league hit, takes a strike. Lombardozzi flied to left his first time up. I know Gerald Saltalamacchi, his last name has 6 syllables, but somehow Lombardozzi just seems like a load to get out of your mouth.
That's a load on the back of his shirt, isn't it?
I mean, it's only 4 syllables. It's not any more than Isringhausen.
Well,
somehow it seems longer.
His father went by Lombo. He can go with Lombo.
Lombo Jr.
Yeah.
Sounds like a fast food restaurant.
Lombo Light.
2-2 to Lombardozzi. Dickey looking for his 4th straight win through 7 brilliant innings against the Marlins his last time out. Got support from the bullpen for a 1-0 win. That was last Wednesday down in Florida. Reyes in front of the ground ball. Throws out Lombardozzi, 1 away. That's 8 in a row retired by Dickey. Now Ryan Zimmerman, who singled to right in the first inning. The only base runner against Dickey, who is facing the Nationals for the 5th time this year. Hasn't given up more than 3 runs in any of his starts against the Nats this season. Yeah, it's funny for R.A. The line of demarcation in his year is the start in Chicago when he hurt his foot.
Yep. Well, I think what happened for R.A. is that talked a little bit of how mentally tough he is, and he just kind of, what did he have, plantar fasciitis he had, and he kind of just almost disregarded it and said, I'm not missing a start. He went back out there, and in this league he had to look at times as though he couldn't even run from home to first base. Well, plowed through and pitched better.
I hear players sometimes talk about how when they're sick, sometimes they're a little more focused, and maybe you try and do a little bit less and stay within yourself better. I don't know, you guys can address that better than I can, but it almost seemed as though Dickey was able to simplify things once he got hurt.
Well, I think it's much more difficult for a pitcher because he's out there. I mean, how do you reserve your energy when you're out there throwing over 100 pitches in a ball game? You can come in and get your respite when your team's hitting, but pitcher's in there about every pitch.
I think what happens is you underestimate the power of the human body. You underestimate what adrenaline's going to do when you step on that mound and in between the white lines. And I know that in a sport where sometimes you put so much pressure on yourself, when you feel ill, sometimes there's no pressure at all. I feel horrible. I know it's going to be a tough day. And the next thing you know, you're in the 5th, scoreless.
Reyes slides over to his right and uses that strong arm to throw out Zimmerman 2 away.
Well, fortitude. We can think of all the words. You just reach in and get something special out of it and dig down deep. That's the people that get here to this level didn't get here. 95-97% of them didn't get here because they packed it in when things got tough.
Dickey, since that injury, has just been tremendous. Top 10 in the league in ERA, and that's, we're talking almost a 4-month span now. And that knuckleball in for a strike, even though Nickias couldn't catch it.
I've had a few people ask me, how come R.A.'s not having the year he had last year? Who's saying he isn't? Because the bottom line is you have a team that's 71 and 75. It's going to be hard pressed for people to have great records.
Well, the 1-loss record obviously isn't as good. He was 11-9 last year. He's 8-11 this year. His ERA is about a half a run higher. And he didn't have a good start. I mean, his first 6 weeks, he was walking a lot of people. His ball was moving out of the strike zone. But if you throw out that first 6 weeks, he's having the same year.
Yeah. I really look at this year with Dickey as kind of Ronnie, correct me if I'm wrong, and he has struggled so much. never had a whole lot of success. Arm problems. Went over to the knuckleball. To me, this year was like his sophomore year.
Yeah.
After a rookie year, where you sneak on the scene, you're 11-9. All of a sudden, you start the next year. Well, 11 games are expected of me. I thought he was uncomfortable in the beginning, but now he's over it.
And also had a multi-year contract for the first time, and you wonder whether that had something to do with it as well. Second time Morris has struck out, 10 in a row for Dickey. No score in Flushing. Ball on SNY is brought to you by Acela Express, where you can plug in and work or sit back and relax. Book now at Amtrak.com. Well, it is Taiwanese Heritage Night tonight at Citi Field. And I guess this isn't traditional Taiwanese music, but you know, you have to cater to all generations.
Their version of Taiwanese version of Kiss.
Is that what that was?
I don't know.
Didn't even look like Gene Simmons. Lucas Duda grounds one foul. Duda hit a hard ground ball, and Marrero at first base made a nice play to deny him a base hit his first time up. Duda right and Pagan for the Mets in the fourth.
A couple of weeks ago, I think we sat here and said there's not a lot of races in baseball. Well, the Tampa Bay Rays are ahead 3-0 on Baltimore right now, and they are coming strong.
Red Sox are off tonight as Duda hits a one-hopper to second, and Lombardozzi throws him out one away. Well, the Rays took care of business this weekend, sweeping the Red Sox. They're 3.5 behind Boston for the wild card, and you know, the Red Sox were double digits in front. And there's a quote from David Ortiz today saying, "We should panic." Can you imagine? I mean, we're not in Boston, but you have friends up there. I can't even imagine what it would be like if the Red Sox blew this thing.
No, they are going crazy as we speak. And I think that you got to give a lot of credit to Joe Madden and his crew. They lost Carlos Pena. They lost Carl Crawford. And what do? They retooled their pitching staff. They got some real young kids that are pitching as well as any in baseball. And Desmond Jennings is going to be a star, new left fielder.
They lost their whole bullpen from last year. Had to start from scratch. And that was a big piece of their team. So all credit to the Rays just for making a race of it, even if they don't reach the pinnacle. That guy's all ready to play. Who's going to draft him? Detweiler behind right 2-0. David pops one foul. And then you've got the National League wild card race. And after the Braves left here last Thursday, having swept the doubleheader, we figured that was over. But then they went to St. Louis, and the Cardinals swept them over the weekend, and now St. Louis only 4.5 games back. Now, unlike the Rays, the Cardinals are out of head-to-head opportunities against Atlanta. Yeah. The Rays still have 4 more games left with the Red Sox this coming weekend.
Boy, that ball's down. Jerry Meals calling that strike on David. When you get a call like that, Keith, that is so blatantly a ball, do you just shake it off? I mean, there's nothing you can do.
It depends on the situation in the game.
Okay.
Early in the game right here, you can just say, come on, bring it up. That ball's low.
I think he was saying to Jerry Meals, Lugo was out.
That's right.
Check swing foul. Of course, Meals was the home plate umpire in that 19-inning game that completely turned the Pittsburgh Pirates season from positive to negative.
Well, this is called getting tied up. And I just wonder if David just lost focus there with the bad call, the pitch before. But that's called, please untie me.
David bounced to short his first time up. Unbound, he takes a big cut and fouls it off.
It's never over till it's over. Yogi told us a long time ago.
And the big thing about the Cardinals win yesterday is they beat Tim Hudson, who has been the Braves' only reliable starter during this latest stretch with so many injuries to their pitching staff.
Yadier Molina with a big hit, bases clearing, a double against Hudson. It's just that the Braves are leaking water. Well, Hanson's not pitching, Jurgen's not pitching,
and they're not scoring.
Yeah.
Popped up, and Marrero right along the line catches it in fair territory, 2 out. Now Ross Detweiler's already gone deeper into this game than he did the last time against the Mets. Inside pitch brought to you by the Xerox Business of Baseball. Xerox, ready for real business.
Well, the left-hander who throws across his body throws 92 to 94 miles an hour. Control issues have been a problem, and walks and changeup is usually his key to his game, but so far it's been the fastball up. I don't know about you guys. I know you saw him in Washington much more on his fastball tonight than he did down there.
Well, you know, he's had 10 days between starts, and they've worked with him a lot to try and sharpen his stuff. And he said it wasn't a question of whether that last start against the Mets was the worst of his career. He said it absolutely was the worst game he's ever thrown. So hoping to toss it out, and he has so far. But the thing about throwing across his body is interesting. You know, Keith and I talked about it with, you know, the knowledge that we had down in D.C. But they took that away from him. Here's a guy who was the number 6 overall pick in the draft in 07, and they completely retooled his delivery so that he was not throwing across his body. As Pagan hits it out to center field, and then they gave it back to him, and it goes back out there next inning. I'd like you to address that. And it's fascinating to me how sometimes they'll try and unmake a guy after they draft him.
That's not right.
High-speed pitch for the knuckleball guy. They should clock Detweiler's changeup.
There you go.
Not his fastball.
Or breaking ball.
So, for what it's worth, that was your Mazda high-speed pitch. Jason Worth leads off in the 5th inning. Each team with only one hit. Dickey and Detweiler have been right on top of their games. Worth flying to right his first time up. And he drives one toward the corner in left field, and that's going to land for a base hit and go to the wall. So Worth cruises into second base with his 25th double of the year after Dickey had retired 10 in a row.
Knuckleball just didn't do much. Stayed right down the middle. Sunk a little bit, but not enough movement.
So the first scoring chance of the night belongs to the Nationals. Worth at second and nobody out. Rick Ankiel the batter. Ankiel grounded out to second base his first time up. It's been interesting since the Mets were in D.C. last week. The Nationals are trying out Jason Worth as an everyday center fielder, and they've moved Ankiel over to right. I guess the figuring being, if you have so much money invested in a player, you increase his value if you make him a center fielder.
Yeah.
I know the Mets have had at least some internal conversations along the same lines about Jason Bay.
Do you think also that going out and searching for a corner outfielder in the offseason is much easier than searching for a center fielder?
Absolutely. I mean, that's what made Carlos Beltran such an incredibly valuable player, is that not only did he give you those great offensive numbers, and not only was he a terrific outfielder, but he was a center fielder.
Yeah.
And there just aren't that many guys like that.
That have the full package. Yeah.
I mean, think about in the game today, how many center fielders do you get great defense and, you know, enough production so that they're at least close to being the equivalent of a corner outfielder offensively? There aren't that many.
You think of he's having a great year, though. You think of Ellsbury,
right,
with Boston. He should be a better player, but he hasn't had that year. B.J. Upton is a talent that could be that kind of player.
I mean, Josh Hamilton doesn't really play center field anymore. I mean, this year Curtis Granderson is that guy.
Yeah.
Matt Kemp.
That's right. Having the best year of all of them.
But you know, there are only a handful of them.
Yeah.
So if you can take a guy like Worth, who you've got under contract anyway for 6 more years, and make him into a center fielder, and I think they're trying to figure that out now, it makes it that much easier to build your team around him.
Well, maybe that's why it was such a golden age in the 50s, 60s, 70s, because there were so many great center fielders who could do it all.
3-2 to Ankiel, and the knuckleball fouled off.
Best I ever played against, and you didn't play against him too much, I don't think, Keith, is Griffey Jr. was the best all-around player in center field.
That's why he's going to the Hall of Fame.
Yes, he is.
I mean, Torrey Hunter was that guy for a long time. Hit sharply, trying for third is Worth, and it's dropped by right. He was going to be out by a mile, and David couldn't hang on to the ball. Well, the Mets have been so loose defensively over these last couple of weeks.
Well, that's their 108th error as a team, and they've been making them in bushels lately. And I don't know if the runner got in the way of David here in the throw. I think David looked up too quick.
You know what's interesting there is David came up to meet the baseball. If he's back on the bag, maybe gives him a little more room to see. He was 10 feet up the line a little bit.
Well, for David Wright, who before he got hurt in May went on the disabled list, had 3 errors in his first 39 games. He's now made 13 errors in 48 games since coming off the disabled list, and in this last week 6 errors in the last 7 games. So they've been coming fast and furious. Give an assist to Reyes on that play, error on right, and Ankiel reaches on the fielder's choice. So it creates a mess for R.A. Dickey after Worth made a bad base running mistake and got away with it.
Can I ask a stupid question?
Yeah.
Why does Reyes get an assist?
Because had the ball been handled cleanly, it would have been an out and he would have had an assist. So you don't penalize him for the fielder dropping the ball.
Why not give him nothing?
Because it's in the rules that way.
Okay. I'm clear on that now.
If you're playing first base and a shortstop makes a good throw and you drop it and you get the error, he gets an assist.
I never knew that.
Yeah. Well, that didn't happen to you very often, so you wouldn't know.
That's true.
1-1 to Chris Marrero with runners at first and third. And he swings and misses. Dickey in a spot where he could really use a strikeout. Gets ahead 1-2.
Big swing here from Marrero.
Yes, and it's not much going on that pitch, and just big hack. And that's one thing that Davey said. I talked with Davey in Washington. Davey Johnson, of course, the manager of the Nationals. He says the guys can't adjust their swings to situations. They swing. They have one swing, and there's very few of them that I've seen so far. He said that can alter their swing in a certain situation, or they got two strikes.
Well, if you're Marrero, you've got to somehow put the ball in play here. And time was asked for by Marrero as Dickey was already ready to deliver the pitch.
Marrero doesn't have enough time in the league to get time out there.
He did.
Jeez. Come on.
Now the 1-2, and he goes down swinging. There's a big strikeout for R.A. Dickey. His third of the night and the first out of this inning.
The bottom dropped out, and it's not a strike. It's just too big a swing, and that is the approach you cannot take on a knuckleball pitcher, Ronnie. You have to wait to the last possible minute, and really you never try to hit a home run. And never try to power a knuckleballer, particularly in a situation like this where you're in a position to move the runners. You're in a position to blow this game open and continue the inning. You don't want to hit a 3-run home run. You want to just continue.
I thought Zimmerman's at bat in the first inning was the correct approach to a knuckleball pitcher.
Actually, Ankiel had a nice at bat too.
So now Ramos with first and third and one out, grounded out to right his first time up, and Ramos is grounded into 18 double plays this year. That's 5th in the National League. And that's exactly what Dickey needs right now, with Worth at third and Ankiel at first.
Surprised Ankiel's not going. Dickey with the knuckleball.
That's a point.
10 steals on the year for Ankiel. Up the middle, a base hit for Ramos. And that gets the Nats the first run of the night. As Worth comes in to score, it's 1-0 Washington. So Ramos, who was stymied in his first at bat, picks up where he left off in D.C.
Well, this is the way to do it. Right up the middle.
Well, when I watch Wilson Ramos hit at times, and on that base hit, he reminds me a little bit of, this is a great player now, Andres Galarraga, the way he swings the bat. Very big-chested, kind of upper body swing.
Detweiler up there to bunt. Let's play it straight up.
IOTV pitch differential. Well, that's middle. And nice approach by Wilson.
So Ramos now 8 for 12 against Dickey. 17 for 30 against the Mets this year. Mets just can't get him out. Detweiler has 2 sacrifices this year, butts that one foul. A ball and a strike. So the error by Wright dropping Reyes' throw as Worth tried to advance has cost Dickey a run. Now trying to limit the damage here in the 5th.
The Mets always, Nick Evans, who has really played a fine first base, always is very aggressive on these bunt plays, first and second, where he doesn't have to hold anybody on. I like that very much in Nick.
And he's got a shot at third. Oh, but he double clutched, and that cost him that play. So he settles for the play at first. 3-4 on the sacrifice.
You know what's funny, Gary, is it's always the one where it's the easy play where you got the guy out by a mile that you bobble it like this. When you have to make a quick play on a much closer play, it always seems to come out quickly when you got time to think of it. And you can see right here, he's got him by a mile, and he just couldn't get it out of the glove.
You know what's interesting on that play, Keith? If you got a guy out by a mile, I like the first baseman not doing that 270 turn. Just keep your eyes right on the third base, come up with the ball, and make that throw. You never have a spin where you lose the runner.
Or you can get a left-hander.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well,
2 in scoring position now for Brian Bixler, who's 0 for 2. Well, the Mets will have their left-handed first baseman back next year. Not Keith.
No, I'm long gone.
But Ike does a nice job.
I've been over that horizon long time ago.
And Bixler tried to hold up, but he went around. C.B. Buckner with the call, and it's 0-2. You know, even after you left, the Mets were blessed with some pretty good first basemen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You had David Segui in here for a while. You had John Olerud here.
Magadan was the first.
You had
a great year.
You had, I'm just talking about defensively. You had Rico Bronya, who was outstanding. 0-2 now to Bixler.
we always talk about when we see pitching, and this is a big situation. It's the 7th inning. Well, this is a huge situation here in the 5th for R.A. Dickey. This is an out you have to have.
He's gotten Bixler on a ground ball and a pop-up so far tonight. Another knuckleball down, and Nicky handles it with a runner at third. 2-2. Bixler fouls off that one.
It's an interesting at bat. Bixler fooled the first 2 pitches. R.A. tried to get him by throwing a couple in the dirt, see if he was fishing. He wasn't. So Bixler has gotten back into this at bat where R.A. really, this 2-2 count, wants to get the at bat over with, so he has to raise that knuckleball up a little bit. Makes it a tiny bit more hittable.
Again, the 2-2, and Bixler down swinging to end the inning. So Dickey minimizes the damage with a couple of strikeouts, but David Wright's error opens the door, and the Nationals are able to take advantage. Wright drops the throw, Ramos bangs one up the middle, and Washington leads 1-0 halfway through. Info and opinion, plus an in-depth look at next week's matchup against the Jaguars on Jets Blog, presented by Aflac, featured on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. So I'm sitting in my seats at the Meadowlands last night, and it's about a minute to go, and some Cowboy fans are leaving. And as they walk out toward the tunnel, they say, as Jason Bay hits one out to left center, and Morris is there, they say, "You guys have the luckiest team in the world." And I said, "You're right."
Tonight,
how did the Jets win that game?
Well,
I mean, Romo fumbles. They block a punt when a guy doesn't get blocked, coming right up the middle to tie up the game. And then Romo throws a terrible pass that Revis intercepts. How's that possible? And then Folk hits a 50-yard field goal. None of those things should have happened. But it was a fun night.
Oh, I'll bet. I was thinking of you.
Folk was sweet revenge, right? Wasn't he with the Cowboys?
They let him go. Nick Evans has the Mets' only hit in this game. He's singled to right in the second.
I must confess that I fell asleep on the couch at the beginning of the fourth quarter. When I woke up, the game was over. I had to go to the computer to find out what the final score was.
I was stunned when I heard the statistic that the Cowboys, who've been around for what, more than 50 years, had never blown a 14-point fourth quarter lead.
Wow.
Never before last night. How's that possible?
It was always the first time.
Well, I know from having watched them for the last 45 years, the Jets have done it plenty. Detweiler ahead on Evans, 1-2. And it's grounded toward the hole. Bixler deep in the hole. The long throw scooped out of the dirt by Marrero. Nicely done. 2 out.
Well, Marrero makes the play here. Not a tough play for Bixler. That in-between hop. Nice play all the way around.
So 2 out and nobody on. Mike Nicky is coming up. Mike's been drawing a lot of praise recently. Let's check in with Chris Carlin.
Well, he did from his manager this afternoon, Gary, because I had the chance to ask Terry about Mike and what's made him so comfortable behind a plate, and he just said, he's such an avid student of the game, studies tape, is really on top of everything, and there's not one pitcher on the staff who's not comfortable throwing to him. So I talked to Mike about it a little bit. He said his biggest key has been relaxation and just slowing the game down. And he didn't really have one mentor coming up through the system behind the plate. He kind of just took the approach of taking one little thing from different guys he got to watch as he grounds one to short, and he is retired to end the inning. So that will do it for the Mets through 5. They trail Washington 1-0.
Here's your Delta Keep Climbing 6th inning recap. It's been a pitcher's duel tonight. An unearned run for the Nationals in the 5th inning after a David Wright error. And that's been the only scoring. Ross Detweiler and R.A. Dickey have done the rest. Nats come to bat in the 6th against Dickey with Steve Lombardozzi to lead off. Lombardozzi's flying to left and bounced to short 0 for 2. Both these teams have goals for the final 2+ weeks of the season. The Mets' goal, which has become more difficult the last couple of days, is to get to 500 for the year. They're 4 games under. The Nationals' goal is to catch the Mets, and they're 3 games behind as they begin this 4-game series. It's not the same as the dream of going to postseason, but you know, for teams that are trying to build toward the future, they are stepping stones. Lombardozzi hoping to be part of that future. First, he needs his first big league hit.
Well, when you think about it, R.A. Dickey on the mound at 8 and 11, including this start, probably has 3 total left. He wins out. That gets him to 500 for the season. That's coming a long way back.
And when you get to this part of the season, do individual goals start to play in your mind?
Certainly. Absolutely. Every player wants to be the best he can be. I mean, I don't care if a pitcher's got 5 wins or 15. He wants to win. If he's got 3 starts left, he wants to win 8.
Yeah.
You know, if a batter's hitting 285, he wants to hit 295 or 300. Shoot for it.
And does that help you just in terms of staying focused when your team's out of the race?
Certainly does. Yes, and the focus too is, I think, you want to win. It's no fun coming out here and losing. And you know, the Mets have a shot at 500. That's something I think that's probably, as you said, Gary, very foremost in their minds. But you know, it's like anything else. You never had a world champion that had the worst ERA in the league and the worst batting average in the league. You know, you got to have production.
Well, the Mets need to go 10-6 to finish 500. They need to go 11-5 to finish with a winning record.
We always talk, Gary, during the season, you never want to give away bats from, you know, from the hitter standpoint. Well, in these games right here, particularly for veterans, don't want to give away bats.
Ninth pitch of the at bat coming from Dickey to Lombardozzi.
And that's not being selfish.
Strike 3 called. 5th strikeout for Dickey. Well, it's an individual game within a team process.
So, you know, if you go up there and lollygag it, then you're not helping your team. That's being selfish. You're giving in to the dismal end of the season. You know, if you go out there giving it your all, you know, it goes hand in hand with team play too.
Here's Zimmerman, 1 for 2. Eighty pitches now for Dickey. Look at that 3-to-1 strike to ball ratio. Generally, if you have that, you're having a good night. That's Santana-like.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember looking up at some of Santana's starts and seeing, you know, 60 strikes and 17 balls.
And Halladay does that now for Philadelphia. Lee does it.
Grounded toward the hole, and Zimmerman has his 2nd hit of the night. 4th hit against R.A. Dickey. Well, it is time for a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. And who are we going to go to in the studio? Well, that's Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin? My question is, which one is Kevin? Is he Winthorpe or Valentine?
That's right. That's right.
Kevin didn't get any FaceTime. I wanted to see him in studio.
Well, you should have watched the pregame show.
Well, I missed it.
Well, then watch the postgame show. He's wearing a tie and everything.
You have that on in your car?
Ask the driver to turn that on for you. Michael Morse has been up twice, struck out both times. And Morris bangs one off his leg. That's a foul ball. 1-2 now to Michael Morris. Let's check out our AT&T trivia question for tonight. Who was the first Met to score 100 runs in a season? I know Rusty was the first to drive in 100. I'm not sure I know the answer to this one.
Because their early days, they scored runs, didn't they?
Yeah,
no?
but I don't think anybody.
No one scored 100.
No.
You don't think Whitey scored 100?
I would have to think it would be somebody no earlier than the late 70s, early 80s.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't think AG ever scored 100 runs. Maybe he did.
Then it's going to be someone on that 80s squad. We'll see.
And Morris goes down swinging for the third time. 6 strikeouts now for R.A. Dickey. His last 3 outs have all come on strikeouts.
Boy, he's done a nice job when he gets ahead of just dropping that ball on the plate.
And a nice pickup by Nickius off the plate there to keep Zimmerman from advancing.
Nickius is making it look easy behind there.
So now 2 out, and here is Worth, who doubled down the left field line, made a base running mistake that he got away with when Reyes' throw to right was dropped, and then he came in to score the only run of the game.
Worth can be a very puzzling base runner, not just with Washington, he also when he was in a Phillies uniform.
Last year, I think he got picked off second base something like 8 times. I mean, that's a career for some guys, and he did that in 1 year.
That should never happen.
Well, it should never happen that a guy tries to go to third, not a ball hit in front of him either, which is what he did in the 5th. Never forget, in 2000, the Mets played the Giants in the division series, and Mets were in danger of going behind 2-0. Giants got Armando Rios on second base in the bottom of either the 9th or the 10th, and Rios on a routine ground ball to short tried to go to third, got thrown out. Mets win the ball game. I mean, it happens, but it really should never happen.
Well, that is just the lack of concentration when it happens. I think you ask any player when he's on second base and he proceeds to third on a ball that's to his right, he just forgot.
God, what?
No, you just weren't thinking. Just lost your mind out there. Because, I mean, what you tell yourself when you're taking those leads all the time, right, Keith? Yep. It's like, okay, ball to my right, stay here, freeze on a line drive.
Line through the glove of right and into left field. Cut off by Bay, so that'll keep Zimmerman from scoring, and it'll keep Worth at first base. An absolute bullet by Jason Worth that just went through David Wright.
Oh, he didn't get his glove up, period. That was by him.
So it's a base hit for Worth. He's 2 for 3.
Now, let me tell you something. Bay cutting that off not only not only stops the double, but prevents a run from scoring. That ball runs to the wall. That's a 2-0 ball game.
Dickey up over 90 pitches now as Dan Warthen spins a moment. So Rick Ankiel will bat with first and third and 2 out. 5 hits now for the Nationals. And Keel with the ground ball that resulted in the error. Reached on the fielder's choice in the 5th. Well, Chris Schwinden is up in the Mets bullpen, and Terry Collins was talking about Schwinden today and the fact that at some point he was going to go back to the mound. Because remember, when he made his start for the Mets earlier on this homestand, it was thought that maybe he was going to be shut down for the year. Ground ball toward the middle of the diamond. That'll sneak through for a base hit. Zimmerman scores. Heading for third is Worth. Rick Ankiel with an RBI single makes it 2-0 Washington.
Well, Ankiel's hitting what, in the 220s, and he just kills the Mets.
Look how far over Turner was pulling.
Yeah, ready for the pull.
So 3 hits produce a run for the Nats here in the 6th. 2-0 Washington. And now the rookie Chris Marrero, who's been playing every day at first base, is being called up. He's at 51 at bats now and hitting .294. He's flied out and struck out tonight, and he takes a fastball for a strike. Worth and Ankiel on the corners with 2 out. Now Dickey ahead 0-2. He has struck out 2 in the inning. And Marrero stays alive. Get up to speed on the latest in New York sports with a preview of tomorrow's Mets Nationals matchup, plus a complete breakdown of yesterday's Jets and Giants opening day matchups with exclusive interviews and insider info. Daily News Live presented by Citi, part of the New York Sports Local, tomorrow at 5 on SNY. Again, the 0-2 and a backhand stop by Nikias to keep a run from scoring. 1-2. Wilson Ramos, who drove in the first run, on deck. Cardinals have gone back in front of the Pirates 4-3 there in the 6th. I mentioned St. Louis is 4.5 back now in the National League wild card race. And the Braves trail tonight 2-1 at home against Florida. That's in the 5th. So the Cardinals with a chance to slice yet another game off that Atlanta lead.
St. Louis just gave Chris Carpenter a 2-year extension.
Well, they were left for dead a couple of weeks ago, weren't they? Once Milwaukee ran off to the big lead, but now St. Louis is only 6 games behind Milwaukee.
That's right.
So they've even got a fallback there.
Still chasing that ball.
Just don't throw it back. Dickey's struggling to get Marrero. The runner goes and he gets him on strikes. 7 strikeouts for Dickey, 3 in the inning, but the Nats add a run and lead it 2-0 in the 6th. Record last night. 26 players they used. Let's see. They had 8 starting position players. They had 8 guys on the bench. That's 16. They used 9 pitchers. That's 25. Plus Chris Capuano was used as a pinch runner for 26, which the Mets had never used in one game before.
They didn't use 26 in that game against the Cardinals.
The 25-inning game. Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that game because last night the Cubs used 22 players, so the Mets and Cubs combined used 48. And the only game in Mets history that had more combined players was that game in 1974, which, ironically enough, was also on September 11th. And that game featured 50 players.
Wow.
26 for the Cardinals and 24 for the Mets.
One was myself.
For the Cardinals.
I pinched hit in the 8th or 9th off of Harry Parker.
Dickey lines one, caught by Lombardozzi, one away. Well, let's see. You pinch hit in the 12th, which meant there were 13 more innings after that.
Oh, was it 12?
That's what it says here.
It's amazing how your memory goes.
So you saw no action for 12 innings. Pinch hit at bat, take it to the house.
Let me tell you, there was no beverage in that clubhouse when that game was over. There was no food.
Game ended at 3:11 a.m.
Nice teammates you guys are.
Tony Carullo was a visiting clubby. He had to go find food for the guys.
Here's Reyes, who's 0 for 2. And with that 0 for 2 has lost the lead in the National League batting race. The Brewers are off tonight. Braun right now is at 3.3072. Reyes at 3.3059. Which means they're both technically at 3.31.
Yeah.
But Reyes slightly behind now.
Wow.
Base hit could change that. He's grounded to third and popped to short. There's a strike, 2-1. You know, we were talking earlier about Detweiler and the way that they tried to remake him to get him to stop throwing across his body a few years ago, and then said, well, never mind.
Well, it really hindered his progress. If you watch him pitch today, one of the reasons that he's difficult to hit is because he throws across his body, that he's a little awkward. But there was a system and time, I still think there is in some organizations, where they're trying to coach and legislate against injury. They thought throwing across his body at some point was going to hurt his elbow. But sometimes that's how you throw. That's how you get it done.
I mean, why would you take a guy with the 6th overall pick in the draft if you don't think that he's mechanically sound?
Well, that's some genius. Well, once he gets a hold of him, thinks that he knows more than the game.
Swing and a miss, and he strikes out Reyes. That's the 2nd strikeout of the night for Detweiler, and he gets the toughest man in the league to strike out.
I personally would allow my pitcher or player, if drafted, to show me what he can do. And if he gets to a point where he is really struggling, then maybe you change his mechanics.
Agreed.
When I got drafted by the Texas Rangers, I got there. They said that we need you to throw over the top because you can throw harder that way, which I could, and a straight over the top curveball. They were big proponents of the Jim Palmer kind of pitching. You know, that big curveball and high gas. And I was more of a sinker ball pitcher, movement pitcher. And it wasn't until I came to the Mets that they changed me back. And that was, you never know what course of events is going to happen to change your career. That was one of them.
Well, that's interesting that the Mets would have traded for you at a time when you were using a delivery that might not have been the most productive for you.
But what was interesting is that I was informed of the trade by the Mets by Lou Gorman, who had seen me play schoolboy baseball, so knew what kind of pitcher I was, and probably said, hey, listen, in those days, the GMs and everyone were so close. Probably said, hey, you know what? They're doing a disservice out to Darling out there. Get him over here. We'll get him how he used to throw, and I'm telling you, he'll be very serviceable.
It's the certain breaks that you run your way that can change your whole career, for good and bad.
Yeah, you're right about that.
For the folks that don't know who Lou Gorman was, Lou was a Bostonian, correct?
Yep.
Saw you play in high school, and was he Frank's assistant general manager then?
Yes, he was. He was originally from Rhode Island. He had a long storied career, but at that time was with the Mets as an assistant GM. And then after he left the Mets, he went to the Red Sox and formed the team that would face us in '86.
And Lou had a long tenure as general manager in Boston. Just recently passed away.
Yeah. Remember, Keith's always good, right?
That was his nickname, good, because that's what he always said.
That's right.
Turner is 0 for 2 tonight. 2-2 from Detweiler. Fouled away. Detweiler has retired 12 in a row since the Mets only hit. Evans singled with 2 out in the second, right after a walk to Jason Bay, and those have been the only 2 Mets base runners tonight. Talk about a turnaround. Detweiler gave up 6 runs in 3 innings against the Mets 10 days ago. And Turner tries to hold and stopped it in time. 3-2.
Remember, the first game I pitched in Double-A was against the Jackson Mets, and they had a pitcher named Rick Omby who started for them that game, who would end up being traded for you, Keith.
That's true.
Along with Neil Allen.
And a surfboard.
Ball 4. Turner's on with a walk. Which way did the surfboard go? With you or against you? Let's answer our AT&T trivia question. First Met to score 100 runs was? It was Tommy Agee.
Tommy.
There you go. 1970, not 69. He scored 97 runs in 69. And for a long time, Agee was the only player to score 100 runs. The next man to do it for the Mets wasn't until 1987 when Strawberry led the team with 108. Keith actually led the team in 86 with 94 runs scored.
Right.
Amazing that nobody on that team scored 100 runs.
Darryl got hurt that year a little bit. He was out for a bit, I believe.
Carter was out for a bit, wasn't he?
Well, Carter wasn't going to score 100 runs.
Yeah.
Well, how come you didn't score 100?
Well,
saving himself for the playoffs.
I'll tell you what, because Carter and Strawberry left me on base a lot of times.
Why don't you try throwing a couple of stolen bases here and there?
I think Darryl got hurt in 86. I think he missed out. How many games did he play in 86, David? You check that for us?
I thought he hurt a thumb, didn't he, that year?
I think so. You know what? We would have had 100, but it would have been Mookie and Lenny, but they split time.
Right. If you had a regular leadoff hitter,
right,
he probably would have scored 100. How about Wally? Wally didn't play all the time either. He platoon with Tough.
Right.
Also, Wally would do a lot where Dice would get on or Mookie steal second. He'd bunt him to third.
You'd have to add up our 2 outfielders together to see how many total runs and our 2 second basemen. They all hit 1-2 in the lineup.
Straw played 136 games.
Yeah, so he missed a bit.
So now, due to the tying run at the plate in a 2-0 game, the walk to Turner snaps a string of 12 in a row retired by Detweiler. Duda 0 for 2, grounded out both times to the right side. And takes the fastball high. One of the few times that Detweiler has been up out of the strike zone. He's done a great job keeping the ball down tonight. It's only at 76 pitches working in the 6th inning. Duda bounces that one foul. I might also throw in that Heath scored well over 100 runs with the Cardinals, 116 and
led the majors
that MVP year.
Led the majors.
And 111 the next year, 1980.
Led the National League. Thank you.
I'm glad I have you to give me the grace notes. I mean, you weren't like Pete Rose where you were calculating your batting average in your head running down at first base.
When you lead the league in something, a category, you remember.
Yeah.
You will always remember that.
Look, Granderson for the Yankees, 127 runs scored right now.
And who's second? And how far behind?
Far behind.
Really? 3-1 to Duda. And that's ball 4. So back-to-back 2-out walks. And now the Mets have the tying runs on base against Detweiler, with David Wright coming up. Well, David 2 weeks ago was National League Player of the Week. But this has been a very rough last 7 days for him. He's now made 6 errors in his last 7 games. And he has just 4 hits in his last 29 at-bats. So a chance to do some rebounding here as Todd Coffey gets up in the bullpen for Washington. By the way, Ian Kinsler has 108, so he's only 19 behind Granderson.
Wow.
He had a much bigger lead a couple of weeks ago. David lines one to center field. That's going to fall for a base hit. Turner's in with the first Met run. Duda lumbering to third base. The throw not in time. David Wright with an RBI single, and it's 2-1 Washington.
Oh, first ball hitting. Change of, it looked like it might have been a fastball. Didn't sink. This ball almost skipped by Worth. And Duda never hesitates.
So David Wright has just the second Met hit. It drives in his 52nd run of the year. So now the tying run at third with 2 out. Angel Pagan has struck out and flied out 0 for 2. All this coming with 2 out and nobody on. A walk to Turner on a 3-2 pitch. Duda walk. And then Wright attacking the first pitch, driving in the Mets' first run. And Pagan flares one the other way. Fair ball. That ties up the game. Duda is in. Right to third. Pagan slides in safely at second with an RBI double. It's a 2-2 ball game.
Well, he just kind of keeps the swing a little bit more compact, up and in fastball, and able to muscle it down the right field line. And that's going to be it. Here comes Davey. And he wanted to give his young pitcher every chance to get out of that inning with the lead.
Now Detweiler was cruising through 5 2/3. He threw only 59 pitches in the first 5 innings. He had 2 out and nobody on in this inning, but a couple of walks and 2 run-scoring hits from Wright and Pagan get the Mets even. The call to the bullpen brought to you by Lincoln. Todd Coffey ready to sprint in. 2-2 in the 6th. Double.
Well, I mentioned how when you're in a RBI situation where just a base hit, I know that some people that don't like the word shorten up, but that was the word I was taught, and it's being more compact and staying level, and that ball got in on his hands
Didn't have the big home run swing. He's able to muscle it into right field, the opposite field.
And you saw that on the Coors Light freeze cam as Todd Coffey comes on to pitch.
Well, he's been shouldering most of the workload out there. 61 games. Clippard has 63. Only given up 1 run in his last 14 appearances.
Mets have tied it here in the 6th. Now a chance to take the lead. 2nd and 3rd and 2 out. Jason Bay has walked and flied out tonight, 0 for 1. Bay has outstanding career numbers against Coffey, 5 for 15 with a couple of home runs. Wright and Pagan each have had a run scoring hit in this inning. They're in scoring position. That's out only 1 hit before this 6th inning. There's a breaking ball strike from Coffey, and it's 0-2. Boy, Detweiler's night got short in a hurry, didn't it?
Wow. Well, that's a guy who doesn't see a lot of time in the 6th and 7th inning, Gary.
It'll keep you up at night, I would think.
Yep.
0-2 to Bay. Takes that one low. I mean, you have 2 out and nobody on, a 2-0 lead in the 6th. 2 walks and 2 hits later, you're out of the game and a chance to be a losing pitcher. It's a crazy game. One, 2 from Coffey, and Bay goes down swinging. All sliders from Coffey to get Bay, and the Mets are done in the 6th. But the Mets cash 2 against Detweiler to get even. After walks to Turner and Duda, David Wright takes one to center field to drive in 1, and Pagan flares one to right to drive in the other. Just some to exclusive New York sports content, including up-to-the-minute sports news and original video. Visit Facebook and like SNY today. So R.A. Dickey is back even as we go to the 7th. Wilson Ramos drove in the first Washington run with a single to center in the 5th. He's 1 for 2. It'll be Ramos, then Ian Desmond has come out on deck to be a pinch hitter, followed by Brian Bixler here in the 7th. There's Desmond, the regular shortstop for the Nats. 2 balls and no strikes to Ramos, and now you get to the difficult part of that Washington bullpen with Tyler Clippard and Drew Story. Clippard's just had an amazing year.
Ramos got a fastball 2-0. Will he get one 2-1 also?
He does, and he flares into the shallow left for a hit. You just can't get this guy out.
No.
If you are wearing a Mets uniform and standing on that hill, Wilson Ramos is your mortal enemy. Broke his bat, still got the hit.
It's a magic wand.
9 for 13 now off R.A. Dickey. When he comes up, they should just put him right on first base.
18 for 31 against Mets pitching this year. That is a .581 batting average for Wilson Ramos. So now Desmond, who's been playing just about every day. Desmond most recently has been hitting in the leadoff spot for the last 4 weeks. And since Davey Johnson put him there, his season has taken a turn for the better. Trying to sacrifice and didn't really square, just kind of stood there and tried to bunt. Not particularly nice mechanics. Here's your IOTV pitch differential.
Well, triggered a miss in off the plate, right?
Well, that was the 2-1 kind of sinker thrown by R.A. Dickey that ran in on the hands of Ramos.
Let's see if Desmond's still bunting after that rather lame effort.
Yes, he is.
And it kicks away from Nikias, and that'll get Ramos down to second.
Tough fan up there. I don't know if you heard it, folks. It's a tough one to break to block right there.
Second wild pitch of the game charged to Dickey.
And they will probably still bunt Josh Stinson up in the bullpen.
Stinson had his first rough outing of his big league career last night. Didn't retire a batter, wound up the losing pitcher in the 11th.
And we'll see. Looks like Reyes is going to be holding Ramos close. No wheel.
I think I'd have Desmond swing, but he bunts it foul, and now it's 1-2. I mean, the bunt attempts have not been particularly good looking.
Well, it's hard enough to hit the knuckleball. I think bunting it too can make you look as silly.
Remember that pickoff that Dickey had where he did the reverse turn, Garrett, whatever, however heck you want to call it?
Well, you said that you can't make that play if you have a ligament in your elbow, which Dickey does not. Desmond hits it to the right side, so a productive out. Nicely done by Desmond to get Ramos over to third.
I'll say, wow, that was a complete give up. And late in the game, 7th inning on, yes, you got to do that. You got to find a way to get him over. And that is a complete inside out.
So that'll force the Mets to bring their infield in. With the go-ahead run at third and 1 out. Brian Bixler's had a rough night at the plate. Grounded out, popped up, struck out. Getting the start tonight at shortstop, his first for the Nationals, giving Desmond the night off. Desmond just made his presence felt. Now Bixler will try and get Ramos home. 107 pitches now for Dickey. And the Mets keep the bullpen busy behind him.
Both Pagan and Duda more shallow than usual on the outfield.
Bixler was a big college hitter back in his day at Eastern Michigan. Hit over 500 one year, but not a lot of power. Stinson getting ready. Dickey behind on Bixler, 2-0. And it's hit to short, coming on contact, and Ramos stops and gets himself in the rundown. Wright puts the tag on. Down to second goes Bixler. 2 out. .625 on the fielder's choice, erasing Ramos.
Well, we got to get that run in, and Ramos does his job, gives the runner enough time, Bixler, to get into scoring position. Routine ground ball. If you're dead to rights, get rid of it, Jose. There you go. and that's it. But too much time.
So you like the base runner Ramos stopping in that situation?
If he's out dead to rights, yes, because you're going to be out now. Getting a run down, let that runner hustle out of the box and get to second base.
So now Bixler's in scoring position with 2 out. Here's Lombardozzi, who's 0 for 3. And he gets that knuckleball in on his hands. 0-1. So Lombardozzi now 0 for 15 to open his major league career. And Dickey just trying to get through the 7th. At 110 pitches now. He's due a turn at bat in the bottom of the inning.
You know, what was interesting there as the infield was in, Davey obviously had Ramos going on contact. Would you ever have a thought process of not going on contact with the infield in because it's a knuckleball pitcher, and on third base much easier to score in a wild pitch than you would be at second base? Give yourself 2 chances.
Hit toward the hole, a base hit. Here comes Bixler around third. He can fly. The throw to the plate by Bay is cut off. So the Nats take the lead. Now Lombardozzi in the rundown. Steve Lombardozzi's tagged out, but his first major league hit produces the go-ahead run. After starting out his career 0 for 15, Lombardozzi drives in Bixler. The inning comes to an end, and the Nationals lead it 3-2. Hope they got that baseball for Lombardozzi.
Well, here's the ground ball on the rundown here. This is more of an instructor right here. Now, the odds, we're going to freeze it on the throw home. Keep going, guys. Let it go. We're going to freeze it once the catcher gets it. Reyes should have got rid of it right away. Now, freeze. Right can come in here. Close. Reyes' job is to come over here. I'll get rid of that. Reyes can come back and back up right. But you want to close the gap on the rundown so there's further distance, closer distance between, so the runner can't advance. Now here's the play on the cutoff by right, and that's the right base running done late in the ball game by Bixler. Getting the rundown, force the cutoff. Lombardozzi, excuse me.
And they did save the baseball for Lombardozzi, his first big league hit, driving in the go-ahead run.
You know, Keith, when you were talking about that rundown, what was the interesting point? As soon as Turner threw the ball to Evans, he went directly right. Don't go straight because the runner will try to run into you.
So now the Nats get to the strong part of their team, their 1-2 combination at the end of games with Clippard and Storin. They'll hope for 2 innings out of Clippard, you would think. Nick Evans leads off the bottom of the 7th and takes a breaking ball for a strike. Ian Desmond, who pinch hit, stays in the game at shortstop. So that means the pitcher sitting in the number 1 spot as Bixler came out of the game.
Well, as good as Clippard has been over the last 2 seasons, the Mets have roughed him up. Very hard thrower, Ronnie, with a big changeup.
Well, he's one of those rare relievers. When he comes in, he's got 4 pitches: a little cutter, fastball 92 plus, big overhand hook, and a great changeup that he uses mostly against the left-handed hitters.
Well, with all that arsenal, Clippard has 93 strikeouts this year, and the only major league relief pitcher with more is Craig Kimbrell of the Braves, who has 116. Willie Harris with a bat in his hands with the pitcher's spot 2 batters away. Evans 1 for 2 tonight as one of the 3 made hits, a single to right in the second. So the pitcher of record on the long side now is Todd Coffey, who came in to strike out Jason Bay after the Mets had tied the game in the 7th. And now Clippard trying to protect that lead. Mets have been out hit tonight 8-3. Was that you humming Lazy Mary? It was, wasn't
Yes,
it?
it was.
I caught you. Swing and a miss, and Clippard with the changeup strikes out Evans 1 away. I was trying to place what that was.
That was deep.
And I realized you were recovering from the 7th inning stretch.
Yes, I was. Forgive me.
I thought that was pretty cute. Who knew that you were a Lazy Mary guy? There's Mike Dickey. It's with 1 out. Josh Stinson up again in the Mets bullpen, looking to come on in the 8th. Mike Nikias takes one high. Nikias is 0 for 2, fly down, grounded out. In the 2 games of import in the National League wild card race, the Braves just got a run in the bottom of the 6th. They still trail Florida 4-3. St. Louis up 4-3 on Pittsburgh in the 8th. It's a strike, 1-1.
Boy, Detroit has gotten into the win every night mode, haven't they?
9 straight wins, which is their longest, unbelievably, since 1984. Out to right, and Ankiel with the long run gets there. Boy, he made that look easy.
He got a great jump.
He's a really good outfielder.
Sure is. He could just hit 270.
No, he'd be a great 4th outfielder on your team, wouldn't he?
Especially in this ballpark.
Yeah.
Be a good platoon outfielder, play against the righties.
You wonder whether that's a guy the Mets might look at in the offseason. Certainly does enough damage against the Mets.
From that area, isn't he? As a kid, I think
Port
he's
St. Lucie.
Yeah.
So 2 out and nobody on. And now Willie Harris will bat for R.A. Dickey. So Dickey, who had won each of his last 3 starts, has a slim chance here. Harris pinch hit in the game last night, flied out to center field. And that one's popped up, and Desmond waiting for it. And so Clippard pitches a 1-2-3 bottom of the 7th with minimal effort. On to the 8th we go, 3-2 Washington.
youngest son, Jordan, who loves listening to the broadcast, takes score, totally into it, texts me things that I should say because I'm not saying the right things. He's awesome.
Now you've got him stationed like right in front of the booth. How come you didn't have him sit in the booth?
No. No one belongs in this booth during the broadcast. I have him right next to Al because I think Al's a good influence.
So you're saying you don't want Al in the booth either?
No, Al never. Even when he's supposed to be in the booth, I don't want him in the booth.
Josh Stinson, who gave up 4 runs without retiring a batter last night, took the loss. Right back out there.
Yeah, on a couple of hits and a couple of walks. So you're right. Get back on the horse type of deal tonight.
Ryan Zimmerman, first pitch swinging, hits one out to right center. Duda going back and does so nicely for the first out. 1 out and nobody on. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. He has a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. St. Louis 4.5 behind. Braves are down 4-3 in the 7th to the Marlins. I don't know about you guys. That's weird having Kevin back in the studio.
That's right.
Michael Morris happy to see Dickey out of the game. He struck out all 3 at bats against him.
You know what's awkward is that when Kevin's here, you always say, "Let's go down to Kev. Let's go down to Kevin." Here it's Kevin Burkhardt. Let our fans know. That's the strangest thing. He does it in between every at bat. Brings that kind of bat to his left thigh. I don't know what trigger that is, but
it's injury related. Kevin followed up on that story in Washington D.C. and he had an oblique hip problem. It was a hip problem, and that what he was doing to keep it loose, and he stuck with it.
Nice.
David Wright with the sidearm toss for the second out. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Bob's Discount Furniture, proud to be the furniture store of the New York Mets. And by freescore.com. 3 credit scores, 1 place. Get your scores today at freescore.com. So Stinson retired the first 2 here in the 8th, and now Jason Worth, who's 2 for 3. Doubled, singled, he scored a run. Up over 230 for the year. And facing the rookie right-hander Josh Stinson, who over his first 5 outings was untouched. And then last night, all of a sudden, game got a little fast for him in the 11th inning. As Daniel Herrera is up in the Mets bullpen with the left-hand hitter Ankiel on deck. Now Stinson ahead on Worth 0-2. And just missed with the slider.
Did you see how far inside that umpire was set up?
Jerry Meals.
Jerry Meals, way inside. That is extreme. Look at that. That is way inside. Yes.
Kind of have to guess on that pitch away as to whether it's a strike or not. If you're almost 2 feet to the left of where that pitch.
You're seeing it on a diagonal almost.
So you're kind of going by sense there. Wow, I've never seen an umpire set up that far in.
Poke past the mound. Turner can't smother it. And Worth has his 3rd hit of the night.
Be careful with Worth here. He'll try to swipe one. Just out of the reach of Turner.
So a 2-out base runner, and with the left-hand hitter Ankiel coming up, Terry Collins will make the move to Daniel Herrera. So Stinson retires a couple, gives up a hit. He'll take his exit. 3-2 Washington in the 8th. We'll be right back. right here on SNY. And I guess a day late, Chen Ming Wang, a native of Taiwan, will pitch for the Nationals, and Dylan G, a native of Conroe, Texas, excuse me, Claiborne, Texas, goes for the Mets. I don't think we're having Claiborne, Texas Heritage Night tomorrow. Daniel Herrera comes in.
Got an out in last night's game. Herrera has been pretty good this season for the Mets. 5 strikeouts, 7 1/3 innings of work.
Strike called to Rick Ankiel, who drove in a run with a base hit up the middle in the 6th. DJ Carrasco practicing his Chad Bradford delivery in the bullpen. Pulled to the right side. Turner scurries over. And that retires the side. So Herrera gets his man. And we head to the bottom of the 8th. Mets down by a run with Reyes set to lead things off. On for the bottom of the 8th. This time he'll face the top of the Mets batting order with Jose Reyes, Justin Turner, and Lucas Duda due up. Reyes has gone 0 for 3 tonight, so his 14-game hitting streak may be in jeopardy. It's been a very odd hitting streak in that during the 14 games, Reyes is hitting under 300. And in 12 of the 14 games, had only 1 hit. And more than a few times, that hit has come in his last at bat, so he has a chance to keep that string going, but against a very tough pitcher in Clippard. And Jose with first pitch swinging, and Clippard pulled the string on him.
Beautiful changeup.
Turner on deck, Duda behind him. Mets were down 2-0, tied it. Nats went back in front of the 7th. Check swing foul, and it's 0-2 to Reyes.
Make an argument that Clippard, better than anyone in the National League out of the pen, does a great job of changing eye levels. He'll throw that changeup and then fastball up. Changeup in the dirt, fastball up.
What a pickup he was from the Yankees.
Ooh.
In exchange for Jonathan Albaladejo.
That was a tough one, yeah.
Reyes with his 0 for 3 tonight, down to 330, a point behind Ryan Braun, who's off tonight at 331. And he pops it up. Lombardozzi with the call. And Reyes now 0 for 4. Very interestingly, we told you earlier tonight that Davy Johnson's been playing Jason Worth in center and Rick Ankiel in right. Well, he just flip-flopped it and put Ankiel in center and Worth in right, I guess because that's his best defensive outfield to protect a one-run lead late. So experiment over when you're trying to win the game. Turner pulls one toward the hole. Zimmerman with a nice play, throwing from his knee in time. Here's a Gold Glove play by Ryan Zimmerman to get Turner 2 out.
And I think Zimmerman, who's had the throwing problems with the oblique, and it's been affecting his arm and his speed and his the velocity of his throws. I think normally if he's healthy, he would have gotten up and made a strong throw over there, but I don't think he has the confidence in his arm. That's just a nice play right there.
I think when he has to hurry like that, it takes away any problems that he has.
No thinking there.
No time for yips. Here's Duda, 0 for 2 and a walk tonight. It's a good-looking fastball by Clippard for strike 1. Bobby Parnell alongside DJ Carrasco. Still going submarine.
I wonder if he's going to make that change.
I mean, he has that in his arsenal. He only uses it once in a while. And Duda pops one up. So Clippard with a 1-2-3 7th. And now a 1-2-3 8th as Lombardozzi squeezes it. We head for the 9th. Washington 3, the Mets 2. On a Ryan Domet RBI double. Rays leading the Orioles 5-2, trying to gain some more ground on the Red Sox, who are off tonight. And the Tigers going for their 10th straight win. Johnny Peralta and Ryan Rayburn with home runs are up 6-2 on the White Sox in the 5th. DJ Carrasco looks like he's going all Chad Bradford on us tonight.
Wow. Well, he's going to change it up. It's been a difficult year for DJ. Why not in September here? Try to see if he can bring this into play for next year.
He pitched last night, gave up a couple of hits, but then retired the next 3 hitters for a scoreless inning against the Cubs. Chris Marrero leads off in the 9th as the Nats bid for some insurance. Marrero, Ramos, and Desmond, the 3 scheduled hitters. Marrero 0 for 3 tonight, all of that against R.A. Dickey. Flied out and then struck out twice. And Marrero floats one into right field for a base hit. So Carrasco gives up a hit on the first pitch he throws. And now Wilson Ramos will come up. And normally you'd say, well, have the number 8 hitter bunt here. You got Desmond on deck. But the way Ramos has killed the Mets, why wouldn't you let him swing the bat?
Yeah, I'd let him swing the bat.
Tim Burdack up in the bullpen. So let's see what Davey Johnson has in mind here. By the way, Davey's managing his first ever game at Citi Field tonight. It's not his first trip here.
That's right.
Because he was here for to be inducted in the Mets Hall of Fame last year. And they do have Ramos bunt, but he takes a strike. The Nationals now with 10 hits tonight. There's their closer, Drew Storen, getting ready in the bullpen. The first 8 Nationals hits tonight were against R.A. Dickey, who gave up 3 runs in 7 innings. Almost missing the bunt. And so for Dickey, that's 10 consecutive quality starts. Yeah. The best such streak since Johan Santana finished the 08 season with 14 straight quality starts. His last 3 all resulted in victory, but tonight he's on the short end. 0-2 to Ramos. The way Ramos has been going, you figure he can't get a bunt down. It's 0-2, and now he'll get a hit.
That's right.
And it's one of those magical runs for a player against a team. Hitting over 580 against the Mets this year. What about Carrasco being a submarine guy?
Well, I was watching here, and he's kind of in between. You know, he's sidearm, but he's not submarine. One of the reasons that most pitchers go to submarine pitching is they want to get more sink on their ball, get more ground balls.
And he strikes out Ramos, so there's a positive result for the first out.
But he's not getting a lot of sink. It's pretty straight.
Yep.
And up in the strike zone.
I think in this case, it's just been such a, as you said, Ron, it's been a tough year.
Yeah.
He's been batted around pretty hard all year, and this is plan B.
So now Desmond up for the second time, grounded out as a pinch hitter in the 7th, stayed in the game at shortstop. Slow ground ball. Evans gets the out at second, and that's all. Ball had a lot of spin on it. 3-6-4's play on Marrero. Let's check in with the studio, see what's coming up on Lincoln Postgame Live. Kevin Burkhardt and Bobby Ojeda, guys.
Kev, I think he looks smashing. I like Bobby's green. Is Bobby? I didn't think Bobby was Irish. He's a Spaniard.
Lance Nix is announced as the pinch hitter, so Terry Collins is coming to the mound. He's got the lefty Tim Burdack ready to go. And so Burdack will come in to face Nix with 2 out and a runner on in the 9th. 3-2 Washington. We'll be right back. The Mets used 9 pitchers in last night's game, which tied a club record. Gomes has 2 hits and 2 career at-bats against Burdack. But Gomes this year is still looking for his first hit as a pinch hitter. He's 0 for 25. Started the year with the Reds, traded over to the Nats. Hasn't had a pinch hit for either one, and Desmond going back in standing, and that was pretty close.
All right.
Nice to see our servicemen giving autographs. Those are the real heroes. This time Desmond not quite as far off the bag.
Marines.
Even Marines have smartphones.
Non-commissioned officers right there. Five sergeants. Oh, that's a PFC right there, I believe. Corporal, 2 corporals, 2 PFCs, and a sarge.
So the big guy's on the right. That's strike 2 and 1.
He's in command of that group. He's got more stripes.
Higher pay grade. 2 and 1 to Gomes. Hit hard down to third and right on the backhand. The throw on target, side retired. So Burdack gets his man, and now the Mets have come up to the bottom of the 9th with right to lead off, down by a run. Sports tonight, we go one-on-one with Rex Ryan after the Jets' big win. Giants, boy, that was tough yesterday. And the U.S. Open final, Djokovic and Nadal. Geico Sports Night tonight after the postgame, only on SNY. Drew Storen in to try and save it for Washington.
Well, Storen's numbers, the one you look at when you see his numbers there, 64th game, lots of saves, 5 blown saves. He's given up 8 home runs in 65 and a third innings. That's a big number.
One of those to Scott Hairston earlier this year that tied a game. Remember the Mets had those 2 straight games, the one in Washington where Hairston homered against Storen. They lost. And then the next day at Citi Field, 2 out in the 9th, due to homered off Nunez of the Marlins. And the Mets lost.
He's got 16 walks, Ronnie, and he doesn't walk people. That's outstanding.
Wright, Pagan, and Bay up for the Mets in the 9th inning. The Mets have been held to 3 hits in this game, but Wright and Pagan each had a run-scoring hit in the 6th against Ross Detweiler. The bullpen's been perfect so far for Washington tonight. And David watches the slider away. There are your save leaders in the National League, brought to you by New York Community Bank. Craig Kimbrell, odds on for Rookie of the Year, leading the league. Axford puts with a great bounce back season.
Ronnie, he's got a little stutter with his leg kick, and he keeps it stiff.
Well, Storen's a smallish guy. He's got to use every bit of those 170 pounds to get that ball 95 miles an hour.
Watch his left foot. He kind of stutters when he starts, and it's stiff.
Not quite the bounce that Rob Nen had.
Yeah, he used to have that little stutter step and bounce. He just lifts that toe up. Very unusual.
So Storen, who doesn't walk all that many, behind on Wright 3-0 with Pagan and Bay to follow. And that's ball 4, and the Mets have the tying run aboard. So Storen walks right on 4 pitches. Here's your Toyota text poll. Should Angel Pagan bunt to try and get the tying run to second? A for yes, B for no. Text 57508 to express your opinion.
And hustle. There's the base hit on the right field line. There's not much time, folks, so get on it.
Well, Pagan has already had a walk-off home run this year. We saw that one very well. It almost landed on our lap.
That's right.
That was against the Cardinals back in July. 1 for 3 tonight. Zimmerman playing in, looking for the bunt. And Angel is set to bunt and takes a strike. You got Bay and Evans, 2 right-hand hitters to follow. And Pagan almost impossible to double up from the left side. That would make me inclined to say don't bunt.
Well,
can't put a hit and run on 0-1.
Pagan 0 for 6 in his career against Storen. The bunt is down. Storen goes to first high, but on the bag. Lombardozzi. That was almost disaster for Storen. Lombardozzi just tall enough to stay on the bag and grab it.
Well, this is the golfing version of the yips right here. Whoa.
You see a lot of that from pitchers, don't we?
I think there was a little confusion between Marrero and Storen who was going to take that play, but he out-reported.
1-4 on the sacrifice, and now Wright's in second with 1 out. Here's Bay. And his 10-game hitting streak in jeopardy. 0 for 2 and a walk tonight. Reyes, who had a 14-game hitting streak, is 0 for 4. Turner, who had an 11-game hitting streak, is 0 for 3. And Bay, who has a 10-game hitting streak, is 0 for 2. There's a slider for a strike. Well, Pagan did bunt, but what did you guys think? In our instant text poll, 57% said he shouldn't have. So we'll see how it all works out.
I'm with the 57%.
Me too. Ronnie?
I'll go the other way just to change it up.
He's such a contrarian. They tried to time that breaking ball and fouled it off.
He was looking for it and he missed it.
Storen has 5 blown saves this year. Ahead on Bay 0-2. And Jason just gets a piece to stay alive.
Now that would tell me as a pitcher that that's one of my best sliders and he's still got a piece of it. So you got to at least at one point throw a fastball in there.
Again, the 0-2 to Bay. Off the plate with the fastball. Well, the Pirates scored 3 runs in the bottom of the 8th, and they lead the Cardinals now 6-4 going to the 9th. So that's some help for Atlanta. Braves trail 4-3 in the 8th against Florida. Nick Evans on deck. One and 2 from Storen, and the slider in for a call, strike 3. That's nasty. 2 out.
Ronnie, that just stays inside.
Yeah.
It's not intentional. It's a drop almost.
That's the equivalent of the pitcher that throws that fastball to the left-hander at his hip. That's the same thing they do, but on the other side of the plate to the right-hander. Right at his hip and bend it over the inside corner.
So the Mets are down to their final out. And now Nick Evans, who's 1 for 3 on the day. Mets have been limited just 3 hits all night. And it's popped up, and that should end it. Herrera with the big glove, and the ball game is over. Storen comes in to save it. 4 pitchers combined to hold the Mets to just 3 hits. A tough luck loss for R.A. Dickey as the Mets drop their 3rd in a row to fall 5 games under 500. Washington wins 3-2.
Well, the 12th loss for Dickey this season. Davey Johnson's got his Nationals trying to catch the Mets. And really, this game came down to that base hit. Once the Washington Nationals got the lead, they had their strength with Clippard, 2 innings pitched, and then Storen for the 35th save.
And just not enough offense tonight. You got to tip your hat to the Nationals pitching. 3 Met hits on the night.
3 1/3 hitless innings out of the bullpen for the Nationals after Detweiler gave up the lead. They scratch out a run in the 7th inning on a hit by Lombardozzi, his first in the big league.